seconds or so. How do you like that for a specific timing? So if you'd like to open up the chat box, hopefully you've got your prayer book, your Siddur handy, or we'll be sharing passages. And we are going to begin momentarily. All right, and Samantha's ready with her candles, and we invite you to please get your candles ready as well to light the Shabbat candles with the Weiss family in just a moment, and Cantor's going to lead us in some beautiful music to begin Shabbat.
All right, Shabbat Shalom, everybody. So we're going to get started with Hine Matov. How good, how pleasant it is for us to be here together in this virtual space. So I know you're on mute, but do please sing along with me. Hine Matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov u'manayim 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 shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov, yadadai, dadadadadadadai. Hine matov, yadadai, dadadadadadadai. Hine matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov, yadadai, dadadadadadadai. Hine matov, yadadai, dadadadadadadai. Hine matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. We're going to continue with another welcoming song for Shabbat. Matovu ohalecha Yaakov. How goodly are your tents, O Jacob. This virtual space serving, of course, as our tent, as our synagogue space. So please join me. We're on page 4 in your Siddur, and you'll have the words right there in front of you. Matovu ohalecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael. Matovu ohalecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael. Va'ani berov chastecha Tovu ohalecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael. Tovu ohalecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha
Oh, Shabbat Shalom, dear friends. Shabbat Shalom. It's so delightful to be together tonight. Tonight we come together to experience the joy the wholeness, the life abundant that is Shabbat. May we enjoy this time tonight to take in and experience all that's good, all that's holy in the world, around us and within us. During this sacred time and in the holiness of our homes, may we let go of the fears, let go of the frustrations of the past week as best we can, as we just give ourselves this time to slow down, this time to reflect, this time to enter the peace and the joy of Shabbat. As our ancestors have done for centuries, we now welcome the Sabbath with song, receiving its renewing beloved presence. Please join us in Lecha Dodi on page 5, everybody.
Thank you, Rabbi. So this version of Lecha Dodi, some of you may have heard before, but I don't think we've done it here yet. It's a really, really lovely melody. It's got some la la la's in it, and it's just nice and upbeat. It's really, really beautiful. So once you catch on, please join me on this one. And yeah, we'll have the words right in front of you. La 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 Lecha Dodi. La 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 Likat Kala. La 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 B'nai Shabbat. B'nai Shabbat Nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad. Ishmiyanu el hamyuchad. Adonai echad. Shemo echad. L'shemo tiferet v'li tilah. Yalalai, la 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 Lecha Dodi. La 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 Likat Kala. La 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 B'nai Shabbat. B'nai Shabbat Nekabela. Take this moment to invite you to stand up if you're willing, and turn and face your doorways to greet the Sabbath bride. Boi v'shalom, ateret bala, gam besimcha utzolam, toch emunei am segula. Boi chala, boi chala. Yalalai, la 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 Lecha Dodi. La 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 Likat Kala. La 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 B'nai Shabbat. B'nai Shabbat Nekabe. La 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 Lecha Dodi. La 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 Likat Kala. La 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 B'nai Shabbat. B'nai Shabbat Nekabela.
Thank you for bringing that beautiful Lecha Dodi to us, Cantor. It's one of my favorites. I remember the first time I heard it, I was at a Reformed Jewish camp in Warwick, New York, in New York State, called Camp Kutz. I don't know if anybody's been to Camp Kutz. Emily has a number, head shaking. I heard it there one Shabbat evening. during the summer, and I was like, wow, that has immediately became my favorite Lecha Dodi.
And in case anyone's wondering, that one's by Abby Rotenberg.
Abby Rotenberg, very nice. I heard a version, Cantor. Have you heard of a group called Devekus? They recorded that.
I have, yeah.
Yeah, so they recorded that. That's where I loved it so much. I tried to find it. So Devekus was a group that was doing it, but her name again is Abby Rotenberg. Fantastic.
Yeah, so she spells it, I think she spells it Abie, a little bit of a different spelling. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. All right. Well, we love it. Thank you so much for bringing such beautiful music. Emily Bergman said she was there for a Nifty Leadership Institute at Camp Kutz. So yes, sort of was the flagship Reform summer camp. I don't know if they're still having students go there, but anyway, one of maybe a dozen Reform summer camps around the country. Wow. Well, so Sabbath from summer camp to Samantha Weiss and Stacy and Jeff. We would love to have the Weiss family lead us in candle lighting on page 9. Shabbat Shalom, guys.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, Samantha. How are you? You're good. For those of you who may not know, Samantha's in kindergarten. She's in our kindergarten class, recently consecrated, 6 years old, and such beautiful candlesticks. So were you guys, were you going to do a reading and then light the candles, and then Cantor was going to lead us in the blessing, or were you just going to light the candles? How'd you want to do it?
I don't know.
We knew
Which
we had
reading?
choices.
Well, dealer's choice. We have a
If you
couple
don't
of
have the
readings
reading in
on
front
top
you,
of
we can always
page
go-
9.
yeah,
There we
that's
go.
There you go.
Thanks for finding
Okay.
Sabbath. You want to do that?
Sure, we'll do a reading. Which
Okay,
one?
great. Great. Just so you know, those are two separate readings, and they're separated by the bold text.
Right, so we'll do the top one.
Great.
Light is the symbol of God's creative goodness. That one, yeah. An outward sign of the inner spark God has placed within each of us. Light is a symbol of wisdom, of knowledge, and of truth. It reminds us of our commitment to God's commandments. Light is the symbol of warmth and unity. It binds us together with Jews in all lands who kindle the Sabbath lights as we do now. In joy and peace, in sanctity and remembrance, may the Sabbath lights we now kindle continue to burn forth in our hearts and in our souls.
Amen. That was beautiful, guys.
Didn't even practice.
Yeah. We'll have you guys lead High Holy Day stuff because you guys are naturals.
Yeah.
No rehearsal time needed.
So now let's see, who would like to light? Is Samantha going to light the candles? Or is Mom going to light the candles?
They'll light them together.
Yeah, you're all part, and then you got it. All right. Now direct my hand.
There you go, Baruch
Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam
asher kiddushanu
b'mitzvotav
v'tzivanu
lahadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Yay.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen. Thank you so much. Thank you, Samantha, Stacy, Jeff. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, it's so great to see you guys and be with you and looking at their beautiful family. We're reminded of all the beautiful families we have here in our Temple Sinai community, your beautiful family, our beautiful families near and far, and we include all of them in our hearts and maybe right next to us there as we now join together in the family blessing, bottom of page 9.
May God bless you and keep you. May He shine His face upon you and grace you. May He lift His presence So as it's now nightfall, hopefully if you're looking outside, hopefully it's dark by now. We have a wonderful prayer that we've done here a few times before. It's called Roll into Dark, and it's part of Ma'ariv Aravim. In Judaism, we recognize the importance of the time of day, just as we recognize the importance of the time of the week with Shabbat. So Roll into Dark is our appreciation for the nighttime. So we're going to put the words up on the screen for you, and please feel free to join me. Roll into dark, roll into light, night becomes day, day turns to night. Roll into dark, roll into light, night becomes day, day turns to night. Roll into dark, roll into light, night becomes day, day turns to night. Roll into dark, roll into light, night becomes day, day turns to night. Borei yom v'layla, golel or mipnei choshech, golel or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei yom. Roll into dark, roll into light, night becomes day, day turns to night. Roll into dark, roll into light, night becomes day, day turns to night. Borei yom v'layla, golel or mipnei choshech, golel or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or. Roll into dark, roll into light, night becomes day, day turns to night. Roll into dark, roll into light, night becomes day, day turns to night.
Thank you, Cantor. And Jason, let's keep that image up for just a few more moments. It really is, in addition to a beautiful song and beautiful words, that that photograph of a starlit night, and you can see the pine trees and the night sky. It's, you know, the psalmists would look at that picture, would look at that scenery at night and would compose beautiful psalms speaking of God, the creator of the beauty and the wonder of nature. And we have beautiful nature psalms. And for a lot of people, a sunset or a sunrise or an ocean, mountain range, so many things in nature really open up our hearts to wonder and everyday miracle, and to the sacred, to the divine in life. And that's what the Shema is all about. It's about opening our hearts to the sacred, to the divine, to the beauty and wonder of life. So as we turn now to page 14, we may think about all those things in life that are so meaningful and enriching to us. And that's what the Shema is all about, that God, the source of life, is one. In this world that we live in, we're all connected in very deep ways. So we join together in the affirmation of our faith, the Shema.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Leolam Va'ed.
Well, in the Torah, right after the Shema, in the book of Deuteronomy Devarim, comes the Via Hafta. And to lead us in the Via Hafta, the Torah chant tonight, and the prayer that we're all going to join in as she leads us, we're so honored to call upon our immediate past president, Maggie Freed. Shabbat Shalom, Maggie. Oh, Maggie, oh, there we go. Hi, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Whenever you're ready, Maggie, we will join you.
Okay. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם מאוד על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. אמת.
Yashar Kochech. Thank you, Maggie. That was wonderful. Thank you. Toda rabah. Maggie chants Torah during the High Holy Days, and Maggie's also been coordinating our honors during Zoom services. So for candlelighting, for Via Hafta chanting, for all types of honors that we have. If you are interested in lighting the candles or leading the Via Hafta chant, please contact Maggie. She's been doing such a fantastic job of reaching out to people and inviting them to do so. And we invite you to reach out to her as well. So thank you, Maggie. Well, I'm looking at my calendar on the wall, and it says that this Shabbat is the 8th day of Adar, and something very special happens during the month of Adar. As a matter of fact, the Talmud says with the arrival of the month of Adar, one starts to be exceedingly joyful. So we start getting happy during the month of Adar because one of our happiest and certainly our silliest Jewish holiday is about to occur a week from today. A week from this Friday is the Jewish festival of Purim. So we're going to have a big Purim celebration next Friday night and next Sunday during religious school. And we thought to get in the mood and to build that joy for Purim, we would do some Purim gems tonight. So Jason, if you will share the Purim gems, and please invite everybody to please open up your chat box. And Jason, if you could also put that PDF in the chat box as well. And that way you can have it at home and you can follow along at home. So I've got 2 gems for you tonight, 2 of my favorites, and I hope you like them too. This first one is from 2 writers. You might recognize Anita Diamond, that name, Anita Diamond. She wrote The Red Tent, the famous novel, The Red Tent, about Jacob's daughter, Dinah, which was made into a movie. That was Anita Diamond, and then her co-writer, Karen Kushner, and they wrote a fantastic book together called How to Raise a Jewish Child. This is my, absolutely my favorite sentence about Purim. My absolute favorite sentence about Purim. And I'm wondering who would like to read what Ms. Diamond and Ms. Kushner have to say about Purim. Any takers? I'm looking around the Zoom sanctuary. Joyce, hi Joyce, Shabbat Shalom.
Mute.
There you
There
go.
we go. Yes, am I reading the first one, number 1?
Yeah, if you read number 1, Joyce, thank you.
Oh, well, there you go. Purim is a Jewish Halloween, a Jewish Mardi Gras, and a secular New Year's Eve all rolled into one. Let me read the remainder.
Well, yeah, well, I mean, yeah, right.
How to Raise a Jewish
Child.
Child, a Practical Handbook for Family Life by Anita Diamond and Karen Kushner, page 117.
And if you have a Jewish child thank you, Joyce. If you have a Jewish child or a Jewish grandchild, this is I think one of the most important books to have on your bookshelf. It's fantastic. And I love the analogy here. Purim is a Jewish Halloween, a Jewish Mardi Gras, and a secular New Year, all rolled into one. What a great way to describe it. So let's think about this for a second. I think we all know why it's a Jewish Halloween. But I'd like you to put in the chat box, and people will start putting in the chat box, what makes it a Jewish Mardi Gras? Let's start there. What makes it a Jewish Mardi Gras? How is Purim like Mardi Gras? So take your time, and if you'll put it in the chat box, shakers, right? Very good. Thank you, Joyce. What other ways, when you think of Mardi Gras, getting drunk? Absolutely. Alcohol? Yes. What else do people do on Mardi Gras that you've seen? Oh, making fun of things? Yeah, sort of poking fun at certain things and authority. Oh, great food. I was watching this YouTube on the food for Mardi Gras, and the bakers in New Orleans, they actually have special Mardi Gras desserts, almost like a hamantashen. I mean, it's not like a hamantashen, but I mean, it's a special dessert for Mardi Gras that the bakers, make a lot of, like, Jewish bakers make a lot of hamantashen during Purim. Costumes, absolutely. Oh, king cakes. Thank you, Cantor. They're called king cakes. A parade, yes. Look at all these ways it's like Mardi Gras. Now, I'm curious, has anybody made that connection before? Raise your hand if you've ever said to yourself, Purim's like Mardi Gras. Right? Aren't they great? That was Anita Diamond, Karen Kushner made that connection. Now let's talk about, I think you guys got Mardi Gras well. Let's talk about how is it like New Year's Eve? How is Purim like New Year's Eve? Think about it for a second. And if you think about it, and I give you a hint, it has to do with one of our senses. What do we do on New Year's Eve that's similar to Purim? Well, the drinking's there. Yes, that's a good one. Drinking, noise. Okay, let's be more specific. How does one make noise on New Year's Eve? Noise makers, yes. Right? Oh, shouting, sure. Didn't people used to, what's that thing you used to blow for New Year's Eve that is sort of like, it sort of deflate or inflate? You know what I'm talking about? Like, yeah, I forget what you call that, but it's like a grogger. I mean, it's not, you don't blow into a grogger. Yeah, it rolls out, it rolls in. It's one of those things that you used to blow for New Year's Eve, and it's like it's like a grogger. It's a noisemaker. Here's the other way. Now, extra points. I'm going to call upon people who may have a more elaborate Jewish education. Let's think about a calendar. Let's think about the calendar of when New Year's Eve occurs and when Purim occurs on a Jewish calendar. Does anybody know what month that Adar is on the Jewish calendar? Susan knows.
Isn't it right before the new year?
Yeah, it's the 12th month. Adar is the 12th month, like December on a Gregorian calendar. So Purim occurs, it's in the middle of the month of Adar, but it's a full moon, but it's sort of toward the end of the Jewish months. Now we know, Rosh Hashanah, it's weird, that's the 7th month. Tishrei is the 7th month. So we do a new year in Judaism on the 7th month, like Shabbat, but Adar is the 12th month. And right after Adar comes Nisan, the month of Passover, which is the first month of the Jewish calendar. Technically, it's confusing, but Adar is sort of like December. And so that's also how it's like New Year's. It's a celebration at the end of the 12th month. All right, so I'm trying to follow the chat box here. All right, so let's talk more. So that's how so that's a little bit of ways that we celebrate, of course. Now I'm going to let you in on a secret. You talk to some rabbis, cantors, and educators, and you ask them, don't tell the kids, please don't tell the kids. If there are any kids on tonight, and Samantha, don't tell anybody. Don't tell anybody what I'm about to tell you. You ask most rabbis, cantors, and educators, what is their least favorite Jewish holiday? And some, believe it or not, say Purim. They say Purim. Now, part of that has to do with not the dressing up and the having fun and the Hamantash, and that's all great. But the story is, you know, when you read the story, it's pretty dark. It's sort of, you know, celebrating that you've defeated your foes in a very grisly way. And it's pretty graphic in the book of Esther. Now, so that gets some rabbis, cantors, and educators down, sort of celebrating the defeat of enemies in a very grisly way. And let's have a big holiday celebration about that. That's the part that, you know, some Jewish leaders don't like. But what I love about it, in addition to the costumes and the being silly and the having fun, and by the way, a lot of our Jewish holidays are pretty serious, right? Pretty serious on Yom Kippur. It's pretty serious on Tisha B'Av, destruction of the temple. It's deeply serious on Yom HaShoah, Holocaust Remembrance Day. Shabbat is joyful. A lot of our other holidays are joyful. But if you think about it, Purim is the most joyful and silly and ridiculous. So it's nice to balance out the serious with the, at least have one silly holiday, one totally ridiculous, silly holiday on the Jewish calendar. I think there's great value in that. It balances things out. But here's the other reason that I love Purim. And so, Jason, let's put up again. Number 2, let's put up the Torah, the Purim gems. Here we go. So I'm going to set this up, and then I'd like somebody to read it. Okay. So here's what I'm going to set up. This is by a biblical scholar named Adele Berlin. She used to teach at the University of Maryland. She's a great biblical scholar. She's a literary, you know, professor as well. She knows literature and she knows Bible. And she's written some fantastic introductions to the book of Esther, which of course Purim is based on the biblical book of Esther. And here's what she has to say about the Esther story. That when I read this many, many years ago, I'm like, of course, that makes perfect sense. So who would like to read her biblical analysis and her literary analysis of the book of Esther? All right, Leonard. Hi, Leonard. Shabbat Shalom. If you'd like to unmute.
I don't know.
Thank you.
Esther is best read as a comedy. Rabbinic Midrash seems to have intuited this, and they add to the fun by their preposterous embellishments of the story and its characters, extending to the most unsubtle ways that farce or burlesque inherent in the book with its bawdiness and slapstick humor. The comic aspect of the book are not incidental, merely to provide comic relief. They are the essence of the book. It sounds like you should go to the Catskills for Purim every year for entertainment.
Well, you're right, Leonard. And one might say, and some scholars have suggested, that Purim spiels are the basis of Yiddish theater. And now I think that's a little bit over the top. I think to say that, you know, there wouldn't be Jewish drama without Purim is a little bit much. There's certainly plenty of drama in many other biblical books. But one can make a case, Leonard, that Jewish comedy begins with the book of Esther. And as we all know, there are many, many famous Jewish comedians. And in American culture, one could even say that Jews have dominated the field of comedy. And so in Esther, and it's helpful to read the book. And when I say the book, it's 9 little chapters. Each chapter is a page long. So I didn't count up the number of pages of the book of Esther, but let's say it's 12 to 15 pages. It's not a long read. But if you read it in the way that Adele Berlin is suggesting that we read it, she is, as she said, comedy is not incidental to the book. It is the essence of the Esther story. And when you read it in that context, it becomes really funny. The characters are caricatures. And that's, by the way, burlesque. We think of burlesque and, we have certain associations with burlesque, sort of HBO related. But, burlesque really just means stock characters, caricatures, buffoons, just really broad stroke characters. So as Adele Berlin says, it's a farce. It's meant to be ridiculous. The characters are caricatures. Ahasuerus is a buffoon. Haman is, evil personified, but he's so ridiculous and he's so sort of unlucky and a schlemiel that it's funny. He's evil, but he's like a really foolish evil person. Esther, the courageous queen, Mordecai, the righteous, advisor and counselor. So you've got these stock characters. Ahasuerus is meant to be laughed at. Haman is meant to be laughed at as well as booed. And what Adele Berlin was saying is the rabbis picked up on the humor and the bawdiness of the story, and they took a PG-13 story, and when you look at the Midrashim, they made it R. They totally took it from Disney to HBO in the way that they interpreted and added to the fun stories. When you read the Midrash of the rabbis, it's like Monty Python stuff. It's Marx Brothers stuff. It's slapstick. It's ridiculous. And by the way, I'll just give you one example. If you're wondering, well, what's he talking about? So it says that when Haman builds a gallows for Mordecai, in the text itself, in the Bible itself, it says that it's 50 cubits high. Does anybody know how big a cubit is? Carolyn knows. Carolyn, how big's a cubit?
The length from the point of your elbow to the tip of your middle finger.
Right. So for adults, that's about 1.5 feet. That's about 18 inches. So let's say it's 1.5 feet. So Haman builds 50 times 1.5 feet is 75 feet. Now I want you to think about that for a second. He builds a gallows that is 7 stories high. If that's not Monty Python, we can think of the contraptions from Monty Python and the Holy Grail. That's a ridiculous contraption. How big does a gallows really have to be? 6 feet, 7 feet at most? That's 10 times. It's ridiculous. It's meant to be absurd and ridiculous. If you think of Shakespeare and the reversals and the misunderstandings, and somebody thinks, in the Shakespeare's comedy, they think it's somebody else. They're talking about somebody else. There's reversals of fortune. That's what the book of Esther is. It's misunderstandings, reversals of fortune, this level of comedy. It's all there, right? The Trojan Bunny, exactly. It reminds me of the Trojan Bunny of Monty Python and the Holy Grail, that huge gallows. It's ridiculous. So if you read the story with this type of understanding, it really is funny. It's meant to be silly. It's meant to be ridiculous. And it's taking a serious theme, anti-Semitism, but it's just making it absurd. So now let's talk about Jewish humor. And if it begins theoretically with the book of Esther, and if Jews have been very prevalent in comedy, I'm curious to know, who are some of your favorite comedians? Who are some of your favorite Jewish comedians? And I encourage you to put their names in the chat box. Let's see if we can even put a smile on our face just by writing their name. Mel Brooks. By the way, I was thinking about this today. If you look at this Purim story, I think the closest Jewish comedian to that story is Mel Brooks, right? His burlesque type humor, his body humor, his slapstick, his ridiculous. I think Mel Brooks, from the writer of Esther to Mel Brooks, direct line. Marx Brothers, similarly. Yeah, Milton Berle, Mel Blanc, the voice of Bugs Bunny. Yeah, that's a nice one, Cantor. I wouldn't have thought of that. Milton Berle. Milton Berle. Carl Reiner. Yeah, Carl Reiner. And how about his son, Rob Reiner, Spinal Tap, All in the Family. Jerry Seinfeld, sure. Sarah Silverman, all good names. All great comedians. Any Jon Stewart fans? Yeah, Jon Stewart. Rachel Bloom, okay. Sid Caesar, yes. Rodney Dangerfield. Rodney Dangerfield once made fun of me at a stand-up club. I was the butt of his joke. It was pretty good. Billy Crystal, yeah. All these Jewish comedians. Gilda Radner, Danny Kaye, George Burns. I'm surprised nobody said it. These are all great names, by the way. Seth Rogen, all great comedians. I'm surprised nobody said one name in particular, but in some ways I'm not surprised because Gene Wilder, Adam Sandler, look at this. We could go on and on. Shecky Green. There we go. Shecky Green. That's some real, yeah, Borscht Belt type humor. Okay. All right. So and you can find some great articles in Bette Midler. Yeah. You can find some great articles about Jewish comedians throughout sort of American history. Sacha Baron Cohen, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. But if you Google Reform Judaism magazine, I forget the name of the article, but Ari Kaplan is the writer. Not Ari Kaplan. Some people know the name Ari Kaplan, Orthodox rabbi, wrote some great books. Not different Ari Kaplan. Did a 3-part series in Reform Judaism magazine that you can find online. Barbara Streisand, there we go, a great comedian. And it's a 3-part series about Jews in American comedy, and it's fascinating. It's just fascinating. Yeah, there's definitely more than one Ari Kaplan. That's a popular Jewish name. And a lot of what is in those articles, it sort of talks about Jewish comedians, sort of as Cantor was talking about of Jewish composers. Here was a way to make it in American society when they're in the early days when certain careers were barred from Jews excelling at. The Marx Brothers and certainly those early comedians. This was a path to, success. If you were funny, this was the road to success. And a lot of what's talked about, Henny Youngman, sure, Joan Rivers, so many. Some of the analysis from even Jewish comedians is sort of this ability to take pain or to sort of be an outsider and to turn that around and to make it funny, to make it humorous, almost as a coping mechanism. Being an outsider, having some solace, having some tragedy, and getting some perspective on that through humor. Coping, dealing with some of the most interesting Jewish humor has to deal with some of the most difficult situations. Anti-Semitism, like Purim. There was humor. There were jokes told during the worst pogroms and during the Holocaust, and it was a way to cope. It was a way to deal with it. Also, yeah, I'm looking at what Cantor's saying about it. Yeah, between entertainment and comedy, it's no wonder Yiddishisms have made their way into common knowledge. Yeah, Lenny Bruce, Larry David, Jackie Mason, Eugene Levy and his son, Sammy Davis Jr. Did some good comedy. Well, sure, Richard Pryor. Now, Richard Pryor wrote Blazing Saddles with Mel Brooks. Richard Pryor, if you look at the Blazing Saddles credits, Richard Pryor, it was one of the screenwriters with Mel Brooks. And of course, we know Richard Pryor too from his great stand-up and also his work with Gene Wilder, another great Jewish comedian. Yeah, I'll get you the link. Joyce, are you asking about that? Yeah, I'll get you the link for that. I'll find it before the end of our Shabbat together. Yeah, Jason Alexander. Boy, he who shall remain nameless. I'm surprised nobody said Woody. I am surprised nobody said Woody. I know there's some controversy, and by the way, they're doing a documentary on that controversy on HBO. They're coming out with it, I think, this Sunday, or may have already started.
Woody, somebody did.
Oh, somebody said Woody Allen. I got to tell you, I love Jewish comedy. I love all comedy. I think Woody Allen's one of the best. If you look at his essays in the New Yorker, they are hysterical. Essays, stand-up, screenplays. To me, he dominated those fields with his comedy. And, you know, we don't know exactly what happened. There are two sides to what happened. And we'll see if this documentary, what's coming out at HBO, sheds any light. But I think he was absolutely brilliant. Oh, Tina, you knew I was going to say that? It does shed a favorable light on him? Well, anyway.
No, she said does not.
Oh, it does not. Sure. Yeah. That makes sense. That Fran Lebowitz, there you go. Fran Lebowitz, another great comedian. So get this, I got to share this with you, and we can go on and on, but I don't want to go on and on because I know we're going to have other things to do and celebrate Oneg. There was the famous Pew research study of 2013, a portrait of Jewish Americans, which if you get a chance, you should take a look at that too. They asked the question of thousands of Jews in America that they could then extrapolate out for the millions of Jews in America. They asked this question: what does it mean to be Jewish? And then people answered with certain sort of Jewish values. Number one thing people said it means to be Jewish, to remember the Holocaust, 73%. Number two, lead an ethical, moral life. 69% said that's what it means to be Jewish. Working for justice and equality, 56%. Those are the top three of this Pew study. At number four, being intellectually curious, 49%. Caring about Israel, 43%. Having a good sense of humor, 42%. Of respondents, Orthodox, Reform, Conservative, unaffiliated, 42%, 4 out of 10 people said that's what it means to be Jewish. And how many people said observing Jewish law? 19%. So apparently having a sense of humor is at least twice as important as keeping mitzvot, according to all these people who responded. That's how important humor is in American Jewish culture. And it's with that I want to leave you, and I'll also put in the chat box, we'll put in the chat box the link to that great series of articles about Jewish comedy. Thank you all for participating. Wishing you a happy Purim. We'll tell you more about it at announcements, but let us continue in our Shabbat service together.
Thank you, Rabbi. So our next part of the service, I want to give us the opportunity to pray the Hashkivenu, another nighttime prayer, a prayer for peace and shelter in the nighttime. And I've shared this melody with you before. it's Hashki Venu as a lullaby. It's an original of mine. So if you remember how it goes, please do sing along. But if not, I encourage you to just close your eyes and just feel the sense of protection that this prayer offers as a lullaby. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Leshalom Behamidenu Malkeinu Lechaim Lechaim Ufros Aleinu Sukat Shlomecha Betakneinu Beitzar Tova milfanecha Behoshienu Leman Shemecha. Shmor Tzeitenu Uvoenu Lechaim Shalom Beata Be'ad Olam Fros Aleinu Sukat Shlomecha Sukat Shlomecha Baruch Atah Adonai Haporeis Sukat Shalom Aleinu Ve'al kol amo Yisrael Ve'al Yerushalayim. Amen.
Thank you, Cantor, for that beautiful Hashki Venu written by Cantor Alyssa. Thank you so much. And there is in the chat box, it's called Wizards of Wit by Ari Kaplan. There's a link to part 1, and on his website, you can get part 2 and part 3 as well. It's really fascinating. Well, let's spend a few moments now in the quiet of the night and the peace of Shabbat. Let's spend a few moments now, each of us connecting with the divine, connecting with the sacred, connecting with those things in our lives that give us so much meaning and joy as we spend a few moments in silent prayer and contemplation.
Hopefully by now you've all had the opportunity to conclude your personal meditations and prayers. We're going to continue now with Yehu Leratzon. May the words of our hearts that we've just prayed in these silent meditations be acceptable before our God. You can find that on page 22, and we'll put the words in front of you as well.
Well, as we do each and every Shabbat service together as a community, we think of people that we know and care about who are in need of healing. They're in need of a healing of body and a need of healing of spirit. So we pray for them now in our Misha Berach prayer of healing.
May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen.
Well, at this time, we invite you to put the names of people you're thinking about who are in need of healing. If you'll put their names in the chat box, our prayer of healing is for them. And our prayer of healing is also for all the folks listed on our Misha Berach page, or Misha Berach list. We think of all these temple members in need of healing. And tonight I'm thinking of Linda Luna, and we're all praying for our good friend Linda's recovery, as well as all the folks on all the members. We're praying for their healing. We pray for all these family members who are in need of healing, and all of these friends and coworkers who are all in need of a healing of body and a healing of spirit. As together we ask God's blessings upon them, and we pray.
Misha Berach Eloteinu Mekor HaBracha LaAvoteinu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, a renewal
We pray that they are all healed. Well, our thoughts now turn to those who have departed this earth, our family members who have died, our friends who have passed away, members of our community, members of every race and nation who are a blessing to humanity. We think of them now, we honor them through our memory and through our prayer. As I mention the name of a loved one who has passed, I invite you to please stand, and then in just a moment, we'll all stand together to recite the Kaddish prayer. This Shabbat, we remember Dr. C. Harold Cohn and Barbara Abraham. We remember Keith Harity, Ernestine Erkin, Earl Sanders. We remember our dear friend and a great comedian, Larry Moskowitz. We remember Rebecca Kaufman, Howard Schwartz, Richard Abraham, David Bernstein. We remember Stephen Strauss and Donald Allen Pocock, Susan Goldsmith, Cecilia Carpenter, and Alan Loibin. And for those who are observing Yahrzeit, the anniversary of the death of a loved one that's commemorated this week, we remember Michael Aguiar Sr. We remember Rose Bergman. We remember Samuel Burke. We remember Bob Edelman and Herbert Altschul, Chris McCann. We remember Lorraine Lieberman, Irving Monis, Alice Levinson. We remember Erwin Julian Richland and Claire Seltzer and Leah Stern, Helen Tepper Altschuler, Arnold Marvin Chen, Edward Davis, Morris Horowitz, Frank Noodleman, Shirley Roberts, Rose Stein, Miriam Wine, and Fanny Zimmerman. And we invite you also to list the name of someone who has passed that you're thinking about tonight. And our Kaddish prayer is for them as well. As we now stand for the Kaddish prayer, which you can find on page 24, and you can find also on your screen. Together we pray. Yitkadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Bialma divarach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei. B'chai echon u'v'yom echon u'b'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael. Ba'agala v'zman kari v'imru. Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam u'le'almei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitale v'yitalal Shemei d'kudesha berichu. Le'ela min kol bidachata v'shirata. Tushbachata v'nechamata. Damiran bi'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehi Shlama Rabbah min Shemaya. V'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav. Hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol yoshvei tevel. V'imru. Amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn, and may we be a source of comfort to all who are bereaved. Together we say, Amen. Amen. And please be seated, everybody.
As usual, we like to highlight that last section we just read, Oseh Shalom. That prayer that we just read, including the Ve'al Kol Yoshvei Tevel, actually, because this version has both in it. This is a Nava Tequila version of Oseh Shalom that we pray for peace. So please join me. Oseh Shalom bimroma, Hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru, imru, Amen. Oh, say shalom bimromav. Hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel ve'imru amen. Yalla la 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 la, yalla la la la, yalla la 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 la, yalla la 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 la, yalla la 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 la. Oh, say shalom bimromav. Hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel ve'imru amen.
Well, we are so honored to now call upon Temple Board Officer and Financial Secretary Larry Cohen. Shabbat Shalom, Larry.
Rabbi, it's actually going to be Philip. Larry has had a long day.
Oh, okay. All right.
Sorry. We
Understandable.
just found out during the service tonight. I apologize.
Oh, no worries. Thank you for letting me know, Susan. Well, so Philip Hain is not our financial secretary. He is our first vice president, and he is co-president of Brotherhood and chair of our membership committee and chef extraordinaire. Philip, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. We'd like to thank tonight's service participants, Jeff, Stacy, and Samantha Weiss for candle lighting, Maggie Freed for leading the Vea Hafta prayer, and tonight's virtual oneg is sponsored by Susan and Philip Hain. He didn't know that until he got the announcements, actually. Coming up at Temple Sinai this week, there are too many great events to say them all here, but among them we have our Journey Towards Racial Justice program, Sunday morning at 9:30. This is a religious school event, but it's open to the whole community also. On Tuesday at 7 p.m., the Social Action Committee will be presenting a Planning for Long-Term Care program led by Temple Sinai member and long-term care advocate, Kim Selfon. And next Friday evening, be sure to join us back here for our special Zoom Purim Spiel and celebration. You'll find full details about Purim and all of our upcoming events in Sunday's Temple Sinai email blast. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you, Philip. And I don't know if you saw Cantor was waving her, twirling her grogger. Cantor, do you want to say something very briefly about the Purim Spiel this upcoming Friday at 7 during our Shabbat service?
I will say that it's a hoot, and I think you'll all enjoy it a lot.
Wonderful. And Cantor's the director of that. And yeah,
And
you're
here's
going
the sound. There you go. There's a sound you finally get to hear.
All right, Cantor. Well, you've got your grogger. Do you have your Kiddush cup?
Absolutely.
All right.
Give you all a moment. Go ahead and grab your Kiddush cup. We'll make the short Kiddush together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Chaim.
Chaim.
And for our closing song tonight, I'm going to come back to one we haven't done in a little while. Adon Olam to my favorite melody, Scarborough Fair, which I know so many of you know and love. So we'll put the words up for you. Please join me, Adon Olam. Adon Olam Asher Malach B'terem kol Yitzir Nivra Le'en אזי מלך שמו נקרא. ואחרי ככלות הכל, לבדו ימלוך דורות, והוא היה והוא הווה, והוא יהיה בתפארה. והוא אחד ואין שני, והמשילו להכבירה, בלי ראשית בלי תכלית, ולא העוז והמשרה. והוא אלי וחי גואלי, וצור חבלי בעת צרה, והוא ניסי ומנוס לי, ונעת כוסי ביום אקרא. בידו אפקיר רוחי, והייתי שם להאירה, ועם רוחי גביעתי, אדוני לי ולא אירא. Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom. Thank you so much, Cantor. Thank you all for being with us. Let's unmute ourselves and wish each other Shabbat shalom before we go into virtual Oneg.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat
Shalom.
shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.